Hello! Today I want to talk about some more advanced Arc Warden mechanics. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the magnetic field. So just, I think a lot of people know that this gives attack speed. The ability gives you 100% evasion, as long as you're being attacked from outside of the field. There's really a lot that you can do with this spell. It's honestly become I didn't really realize how bad the the old magnetic field was until I started playing on this patch again. So anyways, I want to talk about some of the less obvious uses of this ability. So let's create some heroes. So obviously, we can talk about, I think everyone knows about this. So, it's really nice against ranged heroes, right? So sniper shooting you, you put a magnetic field, he can't hit you. Okay? So very nice. So this even works against melee heroes here. See? So in this case, Ogre Magi can't hit me since he's not standing inside the field. And this is really where sort of placement with magnetic field gets interesting, right? Because if Ogre's hitting me and I just put magnetic field here, he can still hit me, obviously. Okay. So, immediately, one thing that, you've seen me do already is, okay, well, if Ogre's hitting me, I'll just put a magnetic field here, and now he has to, like, stop, walk around here, and this can buy, this can buy you a few seconds, which is very important. The next question is like, okay, well, are there ways that we can place our magnetic field to actually prevent people from getting inside of it? This spot right here is a really good example. So you can imagine, Ogre, you're fighting this guy in the mid lane. And then you can place your magnetic field like this, and there's like literally no way for him to hit you. Okay? And there's a lot of places like that. So obviously these kind of like concave regions are really nice. Areas that are completely flat are not super consistent. These again, so like this kind of thing where there's a little bit of a curve here, this is going to cut out the side regions. So it's very hard for, I don't think it's possible at all for Ogre to hit me here. So I think if you're playing mid Arc Warden, it'd be worth your time to just like play around and see what are these, what spots can I consistently have this perfect magnetic field. So this spot here, for example, works really well. Maybe even here would work. There's like a little bit of a kind of, I don't know, a little indentation here, so this will work as well. Here we go. So this one works pretty well. Anyways, there's a lot of different spots. I think this spot would work pretty well here, for example. You just need to see, you can see this ability indicator. You just want to look to see where the blue is and try to make sure. So like this would work pretty well. Okay. So just something to think about. You can also do this, so like a lot of times, you TP your double to a side lane, and then someone goes on him. You can kind of just waste their time by like running to like maybe a cliff over here, and then placing a cheeky magnetic field like that. It actually can turn around a number of matchups. So for example, Meepo. Meepo is consistently a pretty tricky matchup for Arc Warden because your Spark Wraiths and your Flux don't do a lot to him. But if you max Magnetic Field, you can kind of tank his nets while hitting him using this strategy, where you bait him or something. Maybe over here. I wonder if over here works pretty well too. Yeah, so that spot works as well. Okay. And so the last thing that has to do with the evasion part of magnetic field, I think this is something that a lot of people know about, but I did want to talk about it because maybe not everyone knows about it. But sort of the last trick that you can do to cheese this magnetic field a bit is you can place two magnetic fields where the only intersection point is your hero. So, if Ogre's hitting me here, I guess he can't really hit me because I'm invisible. If Ogre's hitting me here, okay, oh, I don't want you to hit me, so and then he goes over here, and so then I place another one here, and now there's no place that he can hit me. I think, like, again, if it's a 1v1, you kind of want to just go one at a time. So then you waste his time walking over here, and then you do this one, and now can't really do much. So that one I didn't do quite properly. It's definitely worth practicing. You can see there that I messed up because I didn't quite place them perfectly. A very important part of this, as you can see, is actually to make sure that your magnetic field is not on quick cast. So everything else I have on quick cast, just out of preference, but it's very important that your magnetic field is not on quick cast so that you can actually see the area of the ability perfectly. Okay, so that's all that I have for the evasion part. I did want to talk a little bit about this power capture facet. So there's three main parts of it. So first of all, you can read it. So first of all, whenever you pick up a power rune, you get plus 1.5 to all attributes permanently. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. But also, your magnetic fields will also attract power runes while they're active, and they will accelerate power runes. The nice thing is that that the math works out where as long as the rune is in that pull radius, it will get to the magnetic field by the end of it. So, like, you don't have to worry, like, if you place it exactly at 1200, you don't have to worry about the rune, like, not getting there. It will always get there. The power rune is also automatically activated when the magnetic field, or when the power rune gets the magnetic field. And this is actually, I think, the most important part of this facet, what makes it so strong. But anyways, we'll get to that. I think there's two main ways to use this. So the first way is to use the pull to just have a really nice and low effort way, low commitment way to getting power runes. This is going to be more useful after the laning stage has ended, where people aren't contesting power runes every 2 minutes. I'm gonna have to reset. And so basically what you want to do is you want to use your magnetic field to get your power runes. So, like, the tricky thing then is kind of just knowing what the right positionings are to make sure you get both of them with one magnetic field. So you can test it a little bit. I have my own little tricks for it. So a level 1 magnetic field can't get both power runes, unfortunately. They are greater than 2400 distance apart, so double the pull radius. But a level 2 magnetic field can. And one way to do it is just to place it in the middle of the river, so that'll get it. But, you know, if an enemy sees it, maybe they can contest it, they know what you're doing. So you can also actually just put it on this high ground, which makes it a little bit nicer. So I messed up because I didn't do it right away. But you can see that it is pulling both runes. And I have, like, sort of visual indicators, so I'm looking at this little, like, I don't know, chip in the stairs. There's another one here on the dire side. So if you put it here, it'll attract both runes, as you can see. This is for level 2 magnetic field. I don't know why this Tormentor just spawned, but there he is. We're just going to ignore him for now. I don't know. For a level 3 magnetic field, for the Radiant, you can put it on this little square here, this like green square in the path. So let's get our runes. So if you put it right here, it will get both runes for you, which is nice. And for Dire, you can put it on this rock here. So right there, it'll get both of them. And then level 4, this is the nicest one. So for when you're level 4, you can actually put it on to level up a bit more. So for Radiant, you can put it on this tree. And it'll get both of them. And then on Dire, you can put it on this little bush.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
So there we go. Okay.
The enemy attacks your bottom tower.
So that's how I think after the laning stage ends, that's how you kind of primarily want to be using it. But what I was alluding to before, that the most powerful part of this facet is the fact that it automatically activates runes. And this is extremely, extremely powerful because there's a number of situations in the mid lane. This has been a this is just one of the dynamics of the mid lane, right? Where it gets to the 6-minute mark, you're playing against a Quap or something, or an Ember Spirit. Both of those heroes have really great rune secure abilities. And it can be really hard to contest their runes. But the nice thing is that you can actually just use your magnetic field on top of the rune before it spawns. So maybe I should have... We'll do it like this. So you can imagine, you know, your Ember Spirit has a remnant on one of these runes.
They seek an advantage.
And is sitting on the other one. And they actually can't out-click it, right? I think it's about to spawn here, right? So... yeah, so we just got our power rune here. Like, they just can't out-click it because it's automatically activated. So this is the most important way to use magnetic field, especially at level 1, to just secure the power runes. Because you can just walk up, send your double one side, send your main on the other side, and then just place the rune. So this one is replace the magnetic field. This one lasts 4 seconds, so if you just use it on the 57 mark, you'll be fine. So we can see here, we spawn our rune. We immediately pick it up, but there's no way to actually out-click it. I honestly, I'm surprised that professional players haven't picked up on this yet. Well, I guess they have, but maybe they just don't think Arc Warden is good enough to warrant it. But there's a number of matchups, you know, like, if they have a support player who's, like, who's coming mid to get the rune, like, there's not much that you can do to prevent Arc Warden from stealing your rune. And if you're just sitting mid and taking every rune from the enemy mid laner, that can really hurt their ganking. So that's all I have for the magnetic field. We talked about some ways that you can use it in clever ways to prevent yourself from getting hit, even against melee heroes. And then we also talked about a little bit how to secure runes with it. I guess I should also mention some bounty rune spots. I think the easiest spot to put it for me is this tree right here. That will get the bounty rune on the radiant side. And then for Dire, it's going to be this little, like, free patch here. Will get you your bounty rune. This is, of course, very important because it also gives you the regeneration buff as well when you get it. I think there's a couple of other things. So, you know, if you're playing top lane and you want to go 50-50, if you place your magnetic field on this tree, it will get the power rune if it's top. And similarly, if you're going bottom, if you place it on this tree, I think also this tree works, it will get your rune as well. Okay, that's enough about magnetic field. I want to talk a little bit about some interesting item interactions. I don't think that these are things that dramatically change how you play the hero, but they do come in handy from time to time. So the first thing is Solar Crest. So it recently there was a patch that made it so you could cast Solar Crest on yourself, and it now gives you a barrier instead of just armor. I think it used to just give armor, attack speed, and some evasion. But now it gives you a 350 physical damage barrier, which is quite nice. And actually, if you look at these stats, it gives you 4 all attributes, 4 armor, 175 health, some movement speed. The stats are quite nice. So I actually don't hate buying this, even on a core Arc Warden. Obviously, if you're playing support, this is really good. But there's an interesting sort of interaction here. So for a little bit, not very long, there was a patch where you could actually Solar Crest yourself, and it also gave you this bonus attack speed. As you can see, it says does not grant bonus armor, movement, and attack speed if used on self, which is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. And you know, I think there were a few cores who were buying this to use it on themselves. But Arc Warden is in an interesting situation because you can actually buy this item and then use the double to use it on your main, and you still get the extra attack speed here, movement speed, and armor. But you also can still use it on yourself, right? So you can use a Solar Crest on yourself and then refresh it with your double, actually giving you the bonus. So that's a really nice interaction, I think. There aren't a lot of great items besides like Ghost Scepter that will like really consistently protect you against physical damage. So this is really nice. This is another interesting interaction is Yules. So normally you can't use Yules on allies, but your double can actually Yules your main, and you can Yules your double, which is quite nice. You know, this is of sort of limited use. There aren't a lot of incredible uses for this. You know, if you think you're about to get chronoed, you can do this. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, not a huge amount of uses, but it's something nice to have in the back of your mind, maybe. We also have Lincolns. So this is kind of nice. You can actually use the active Lincolns on your double to give your main a double Lincolns and vice versa. So this will actually block 2 spells. So we talked about items, we talked about bubbles. At this point, I wanted to talk about Spark Wraith a little bit. So I think everyone knows that it does damage, it slows, but it also has really long cast range, and it lasts 16 seconds, which is quite nice. It also gives vision, but importantly, it doesn't give vision in the entire search radius. So for example, if I place... Let's see, where's my Ogre Magi? If I placed my Spark Wraith here, it will hit the Ogre Magi, but I wasn't able to see him. But if I place my Spark Wraith right on top of him, it will see him. So this is important. If you're using Spark Wraith to scout like runes, for example, it's important to make sure that you cast it close to the rune, because the vision area is not super big. Okay. And that vision area is important, though, because it can allow you to scout ganks. One thing I really like to do is I think a common thing to do as Arc Warden is if the enemy mid laner is ganking, then you can siege their mid tower. But what you're always afraid of is someone TPing in and then catching you and then you die. So when you're doing that, it's important to place Spark Wraith in the tree so you can see these TP locations, and also over here. Okay. And then also when you're farming jungle, it's not as good. It used to be that Spark Wraith lasted like a minute, so this used to be much more efficient. But you can still use Spark Wraith to scout for ganks when you are farming. So you can imagine, you are farming over here, you're afraid of getting smoke ganked, so you can place a Spark Wraith here, and this will still hit someone if they're smoked. So this can scout that. You can also place one up here. So now I want to talk about everyone's favorite Arc Warden item, Hand of Midas. I think I would be remiss to say people don't know how to use Hand of Midas. I do think there are a few nuances that some people maybe don't take into consideration. So first of all, I think everyone knows that it gives you more golden XP when you Midas. But it's important to note that the gold is fixed and the experience is not. So the experience is dependent on the creep that you kill. So I think there's two main ways to use Midas. So you can use Midas to maximize gold gain, and you can use Midas to maximize experience gain. So what do I mean by that? Well, some creeps give more experience than others, and some creeps give more gold than others. So if you want to maximize the experience gain, you want to use Midas only on creeps that give the most experience, which is now possible because Midas has 2 charges. If you want to maximize gold gain, you want to use Midas on the creeps that give the least amount of gold. So I wanted to talk a little bit then about sort of what creeps you want to prioritize if you're going for XP, which is what I do. So the hard camp large creeps, so the Centaur, Wild Wings, Troll Summoners, and Tomatoes, those all are going to give you 90 XP by default. The next highest is the Siege Creep, which I think gives you 88 XP. Now, not all creeps are created equal, so technically a large creep does give more XP than a siege creep, but siege creeps are remarkably difficult to kill, and Midasing them basically negates any kind of push that could happen in that lane on that timing. So I prioritize siege creeps above all else for that reason. The next highest is range creeps. The range creeps also give a lot of experience. And then melee creeps. And then after melee creeps, you have medium camps and small camps. You really don't want to Midas these at all if you can avoid it. The XP difference between a medium camp and a melee creep is quite significant. And so is the XP difference between a melee creep and a ranged creep. So if you can, you really want to try to Midas hard camp large creeps, siege creeps, and ranged creeps. But, if you have 2 Midas charges cooking, then maybe you can go for melee creep, or a medium camp if you need to. Again, remember, if you do Midas a small camp, you are getting more gold. But again, I tend to prioritize experience. I want to get my level 25 talent. I want to get all my abilities maxed out. I want to get my level 3 Tempest up in particular. And all of your talents are really quite good. So I would recommend Midasing for experience and following that order. I think one of the great strengths of Arc Warden is his remarkable kill pressure at level 6. With your Flux and Spark Wraith combo, you really can kill a number of mid laners at level 6 from full to 0. Unfortunately, his abilities have built in a number of ways to counter for enemies to counter that timing. So, for example, Flux, of course, is nullified if you are near an ally. So if they just stand near their creeps, your Flux isn't going to do anything. And here, in this particular match, I've invested 4 points into Flux, so that's going to be a significant amount of damage that I won't be dealing. Also, it's very difficult to consistently land Spark Wraiths on another player if they're near creeps, because as long as another creep is closer to the Spark Wraith than the player is, then the Spark Wraith won't hit them. So, when you're first starting off, you just want to make sure that you can nail your double Flux, double Wraith combo, which we're not going to talk about today because we're talking about advanced mechanics. But as you get better, I think it's important to start becoming comfortable with some more situational combos, some particular tactics for removing these options from the other mid laner. The first thing that's really important is that once you get level 6, if you're looking to kill someone, you need to kill their range creep first. The range creep is the best way for them to get out of a combo because it's going to be the furthest away from you. If you kill the range creep and you want to go for this combo, usually you want to start off with just putting 1 Flux on them to see what they do. They have 2 options. They can either go to the melee creeps or back off. If they back off, then you're in business. You can just continue the combo, land your second Flux, tell 2 Wraiths, and they'll die. If they go to the melee creeps, you just want to chill. Just chill. Put some Spark Wraiths behind them. Just hit them with your 2 heroes that are out, by the way. You have 2 heroes, remember. And if they continue to just play on the melee creeps, so you just keep hitting them and place more Spark Wraiths behind them. Eventually, they will probably back off, and that's when you want to use your second Flux. So here you can see me. I'm going to first really try to kill the range creeps. I actually use a Midas to do that. I see the Tinker coming up here. And so I kill the range creep. And now I'm going to go for the combo. So I summon my Tempest double behind him here, which is another thing. And you can see I only use 1 Flux. This is very important because I want to see what he's going to do next. Another nice thing that I do here is I actually aggro the melee creeps away from him. So in order to cancel this Flux, he has to actually walk towards me. And maybe this isn't fair because he's only level 5. But this is what I would do in this situation even if he was level 7. I put my 2 Spark Wraiths down. At this point he's basically dead, but I finally use my second Flux because there's no way he's getting to the other creeps. And that's an easy kill. So here's another example of a more interesting kill combo at level 6. So here I have a wave pushing in. One really important thing when you're trying to go for a kill like this is you want to keep track of where their creeps are. So in this case, I'm going to walk up here, but I'm not immediately going to go for a kill because I know that he has creeps coming. So if I immediately Flux him here, he's going to be able to run to these creeps and possibly get outside of Spark Wraith range. So that makes things a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to wait for these creeps to walk up here, just get a few hits in to make the kill a bit easier. And then I'm going to summon my double and Flux. He has a ranged creep here, but I'm just going to wait it out. I'm going to put 2 Spark Wraiths on the ranged creep to kill it. And then just see what he does. I think at this point he should run to these melee creeps, but he's not going to do that. Or he is sort of trying to do that. But now his decrep has ended, and so I can just Flux him again. If he runs to these creeps, then he has two Arc Wardens that are just going to hit him for free. And so his only option is to run to these trees. So I put some Spark Wraiths behind him here, and he is going to die. So, there's not a rule to to fix all of these problems. I think you just need to try stuff. You know, don't get overwhelmed if you feel like, oh man, this guy's unkillable. Because I assure you, there is a way to kill them. You just have to kind of play with them a bit. I think you know, a lot of people think that like Invoker is very difficult to kill. I think that's true. You know, he can just summon his Forge Spirit. But oftentimes what I do against Invokers, I try to get some high ground advantage. So I'll try to get the creeps on my high ground and play Spark Wraith behind him. Maybe I'll use one Flux to force out a Forge Spirit. The Forge Spirit he'll then use to kill the Spark Wraith. And then at that point, his Forge Spirit is dead, and so I can just summon my double and kill him. So you just have to kind of pressure them a bit, hit them a bit, maybe put some Spark Wraiths behind them, put some Spark Wraiths on top of them. Just make them use some stuff, and then wait for them to use that thing that counters you, and then kill them. So just try to be creative. I just wanted to finish off talking a little bit about using your Tempest double. So in the mid game and late game, of course, especially when you have travels, you know, you do want to be using your Tempest double almost always off cooldown to farm. The amount of pressure that a double can apply just pushing in lanes is really one of the most powerful things about this hero. But it's not always obvious how to use it. So I think there's two elements. So first of all, when should you use your W to split push? And the second thing is, how do you actually do that? So I think in general, if there's any reason to believe that there isn't going to be a fight soon, then you should use your double to split push. I think it's very important to communicate to your team when your double is not up. Like you can say, hey, you know, my double, I just TP'd my double to a side lane. Let's wait to smoke or something like that. Those are really important things to communicate, because you do want to make sure that you have your double up, but at the same time, you also want to make sure you're split pushing as often as possible. So just keep those things in mind. When it comes to how to do it, I mean, the main question is, well, where do I TP it to? And you know, this is one of those things where, like, if you TP it to a bad lane, it's not the worst thing. But there's kind of two things that you want to be thinking about. So the first thing is, well, where is my team farming? You don't want to TP your double into the lane that your cores are farming, because they're already farming that lane, right? So you don't really want to do that. The other thing is, you want to think about, where are the enemies playing? And I think some people, I think there's a good argument to be made to say, like, hey, you should TP your double away from the lanes where you think the enemy is playing. That way that your double can clear more waves. But kind of going back to the first point, first of all, your cores are probably not going to be farming the lanes where you think that the enemies are, because that would be very stupid. Also, if you TP your double into a lane where you think enemies are, and they aren't there, right, that's great. Obviously, you can now farm. But if you TP your double into a lane and the enemies are there, then you force them to show on that lane, and now you've given some really important information to your team. So I'm going to show you an example. I'm pretty sure that the enemy heroes are mid, just given what they've been doing, and so I just TP my clone mid, and as you can see, I immediately see the anti-mage, and I see the wyvern, and I even see Disruptor's Courier here. So I actually, with this double, I'll clear one wave, and I've already spotted 3 heroes, right? We know that they're not making a play right now, which is very important. It also means that when we spot this Night Stalker here, we know that this guy's alone, so we could make a play on him if we want. Here, I'm actually strong enough where they can't really actually kill my clone, which is usually the concern. But in my opinion, you know, even if they did, this amount of information, I kill a wave, which is about 300 to 400 gold, depending on the how late the game is, I think, or maybe 250, something like that. So, in any case, I'll break even in that sense. But again, I'm also spotting 3 heroes here, which is super, super, super helpful. So anyways, just things to keep in mind. Try to TP your double into lanes where you think the enemies are. But you also want to TP your double away from where your cores are farming. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you learned something from this guide. Maybe you found something that you thought was interesting. If you have any questions, maybe if there is anything that I left out, please leave it down in the comments. I'd love to read what you thought. Also, if you did find this guide helpful, it would mean a lot to me if you gave this video a like. It helps it get seen by more people. Also, just wanted to mention that I do stream pretty regularly on this YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that, just subscribe and it'll let you know when that happens. And yeah, be on the lookout for some more videos. I've been thinking about maybe making a guide on specific laning matchups, an itemization guide. So yeah, thanks for watching.